Are you ready to take bold action and live a life of brilliance? Welcome to the Bold and Brilliant podcast, where women leaders share inspiring stories about daring decisions that shape their businesses, their lives, and their careers. Today, I'm with the fabulous and amazing Michelle Walters. An imagination advocate, Michelle Walters writes and speaks on themes associated with the power of mind, leadership, positivity, and the law of attraction. Michelle is a marketing coach, clinical hypnotherapist, speaker, and author. Michelle helps her clients with mindset, message, and momentum. She is the winner of Oakland Magazine's Best of Oakland Best Professional Business Coach of the Year 2024 and author of 2 books, An Alignment of Spirit, Finding Work You Love, and most recently, The ABCs of Conscious Leadership. As we talk, you'll hear Michelle share her journey of entrepreneurship, including one bold decision that has created her path of what was next. Her story of resilience, risk-taking, and transformation will inspire, encourage, and support your personal and professional growth. Please join me in welcoming Michelle to the Bold and Brilliant podcast. Michelle, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you for having me, Tracie. I'm delighted to be on your show.
Yay. Okay. I am thrilled to kick off this conversation because we have been connected in community for several years now. We've traveled together. We were able to do that recently and spend some real time together as people, as well as talking about business. And while I know that that's true for me, I know it's not true for everyone who's going to be listening, all the throngs of people who are listening to this episode. So let's start off before we get into what's the bold decision that changed everything for you. Before we get into that, let's talk about what you do, who you serve, and maybe a little bit about your journey to get here.
Sure.
Take it.
So I am in my mid-50s. I have loved my time on this planet, and I'm looking forward to a lot more time to come. I have always been somebody who's multi-talented and extra curious, super curious kind of person. I started off in your neck of the woods at UC Santa Cruz, where I was a biology major of all things. And I think part of the reason why was when you're a bio major, you get to do a little bit of everything. You do a little bio, you do a little chem, you do a little math, you do a little arts, you do a little science, some of everything. And then from there, I somehow managed to find my way into working in decision consulting and got an MBA.
Talk about what that is.
Yeah, so I worked
consulting, is that what you said?
Decision consulting. I worked for a company in Palo Alto in the early 90s before I got my MBA called Strategic Decisions Group. And we helped companies make huge decisions, like multi-million-dollar decisions. If you're the electric company, do you want to be focused on generation, transmission, or distribution? Like big stuff. But it was fascinating. And what I loved about it was that we had a process and we thought a lot about how people make decisions and how to make quality decisions, how to get the right information, how to trade off the values. Like I thought all this was fascinating. It was so fascinating, I decided to go to business school. And in business school, I learned a lot about marketing and mindset and creativity and persuasion. And all of these were really important themes for me. I realized I was a really pretty creative person, but I also liked metrics and business and kind of being able to figure things out. So a little bit of a left brain, right brain person even then. I wound up working in digital marketing for over 20 years. And what I loved about that was that I could blend this, what's a good business decision with what's something creative and persuasive that will make people love my brand or make people ask more questions or use my coupon or try it out or whatever it is we were working on. So I did that for years and years and years and loved it, but it was kind of like get a job, lose a job, get a job, lose a
Mm.
job, because all those creative agency jobs, that's par for the course. It seemed to work out for me though, for the most part. And yeah, so I've been a student of life and the way people think for a very, very long time, passionate about it.
So interesting. I've heard this is the first time I've heard you mention the decision making consultancy, which I find a really fascinating piece of the puzzle that I hadn't heard about before. So to go from right biology, like you said, you're you're studying life, which includes everything, right? Like you said, chemistry and physiology and all those different things. And then you went from all of the things to maybe what makes people's brains tick and how to help them make decisions. And then you go to helping people make decisions about buying stuff, basically.
Yeah.
So, and I'll share that I, as a young person and a creative thinker as well, always thought I was going to go into advertising. Do you remember watching 30 something when we were young? Did you watch
Yeah,
that?
a little bit.
Yeah, it was,
Also
we were
Mad
in our,
Men.
it was exactly, it's pre Mad Men, but it's the same idea in that it's, we were in our 20s and it's like the 30 somethings have it figured out and they're in advertising and isn't that cool? And all similar to Mad Men, although whole different story. But I love that because it just, I can see the evolution of all of the things that you were so curious about. And now I'm curious about this other piece of the human condition, decision making, whatever thought process. And then business school, which of course, like you said, the metrics and all of those details about why they, after they made those decisions, then what happened. It's fascinating. Okay, I love all of this. And I know that coming into the digital marketing story, that we're coming up on this bold decision that you alluded to when you said the digital marketing, like you come and go, different jobs, creative agency. So something was about to happen that changed everything for you. So tell us about this bold change that happened in your life.
So I was literally inspired for a career change from reading a novel. I read a novel by one of my favorite authors called The Hypnotist Love Story. And I
You
read
love
this
a love
novel.
story, don't you, my
You know,
friend?
it's a funny book set in Australia about a female hypnotherapist who has a love story and all these other crazy characters and things she does in her life.
Fun.
Anyway, I read this book and I thought this lady has the coolest job. I want to do that. So I Googled it and I found a school to go to and I went on the weekends and I trained and got a certificate in hypnotherapy. I didn't really expect that's what I was going to do, but I did. And then the pandemic hit.
Oh, so
And
this was, I keep feeling like you've been a hypnotherapist for a long, long time, but literally 6 years at this
yeah,
point.
about
Good.
five actually.
Yeah,
So I
five. Oh,
started my
wow.
training. I started my training for, I had completed my like one level of hypnotherapy training
Mm,
prior to the pandemic and then completed another level actually to be early in the pandemic.
gotcha. Gotcha.
But I had trained, but I had never really anticipated that I would go that direction. It was just a fascinating sideline to have and made for really interesting conversation. You meet all kinds of interesting people when you tell them you're a hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my life cratered, I guess is a good word,
Mm.
during the pandemic, like a lot of people's. But I had sold a house and my the love of my life, second love of my life, but the second love of my life passed away during the pandemic. And my son and I were living with my mom, and then my job ended, and everybody remembers how crazy that time was. I was like, if I'm ever going to switch jobs, this is the time to do it. And so I did something I'd never done anything like before. I found a little office and got a logo
On
and
your shingle, as they say.
and and hung my shingle and started working in doing hypnotherapy for people. And I never would have seen myself doing that before. It was really a bold move that not not a lot of other people do. Not a lot of people go to business school and then decide to become a hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
I had to explain that to a fellow I met this week. He's, what? And I'm like, hey, it works. And I'm really more about what works than getting hung up on the how, you
Yeah.
know?
And on the labels and all of those things.
Oh, at the end of the day, my work in hypnosis works most of the time for most people. It's amazing. Without any drugs, without any negative repercussions. It's I'm not going to say it's a cure-all for everyone, but it works for a lot of things. And I love being able to help people like that. It's a very different feeling to put a smile on somebody's face or to wipe off the tears and see them in a much better space than to say, "Hey, we rocked the campaign for Clorox." It's a different feeling. They're both good, but this one is very personal and that feels good at this moment in my life.
Yeah, I bet. It is so interesting. So I loved the kind of the juxtaposition of helping someone not only with the problem they were struggling, but to feel good about how it was solved versus maybe the more stoic business strategy type of thing. And what I know is that often, because this is the circle that you and I share, is that often we're talking about business issues or personal things that are holding us back from business issues. And so I love, my favorite thing about all of that story for you is how you can combine them all and combine your curiosity, your love of understanding the like trackable implications and the personal human component that came from not only the hypnotherapy, but also even the digital marketing part, the marketing part of helping people make decisions.
Yeah.
It's such a great blend, and that's really helped you had so much success too. Like I really am just understanding you outside of clear strictly hypnosis, right? I've attended
Yeah.
your courses, which were more personal based, but now I'm understanding, and we can see here for those of us who are watching on YouTube, your book in the corner about the ABCs of conscious leadership. And that really feels also, and I want you to talk about it, like that blend that you're talking about the mind and that those conscious and unconscious and subconscious things, but also that history of your Maxwell training and leadership and all of the different things. So talk about your book, which is not, I mean, I didn't tell you we were going to talk about your book, but talk about your book and like why this book, like why this combination and what does it bring for people? Because I do think it like wraps everything that you do
So
together.
my new book, the one out this year, is called The ABCs of Conscious Leadership.
And I know you have another one
And
before.
I have another one. And they're very different books, but in some ways they both, I think, hearken to a lot of the same principles, a lot of the
Mm,
same way I view the world. My first book, not Conscious Leadership, but my first book is called An Alignment of Spirit, Finding Work You Love. And it
mm,
is really a law of attraction book about getting a job, which sounds really bizarre, but maybe again, that's just me being bold, but putting together two ideas that people don't usually think about, which is really the functional, like, how do I find great work? But it's really more about manifesting. I'm
yeah.
honestly focused on manifesting. And a lot of people think that's super woo, but like the way I talk about it in my book is not super woo. It's really, look, there's all this science that supports this. And if you think I love science. I think science just hasn't caught up to explain what is woo. That'll happen eventually. But that book really, I think, appeals to people who are trying to look at things from their subconscious and what's going on in their subconscious. Are they drawing the things to them that they want to draw? And if they don't know, read the book because it'll tell you how to get what you want. The second book, the one I launched this year, the one here on my screen, The ABCs of Conscious Leadership, is not so much written for somebody who is playing in the land of their subconscious, but somebody who wants to play in the land of their conscious mind and focus on what are the things that they can do to
Mhm.
emphasize their authentic leadership traits. And I feel I love this world. I feel like it could be better. And the only way it's going to get better is if we all put out our best foot to be the very best leaders that we can be. Leaders in our businesses, leaders in our communities, leaders in our government, leaders in our churches, what leaders wherever.
Yeah.
And so the ABCs of conscious leadership is really a reminder for people and a way to help focus on what are the things that you can do to be more clear and conscious and directed about your leadership talents and gifts.
Yes.
Because I believe that as we build and strengthen those, we are gonna help get ourselves from where we are now to a better place where we can be. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
sort of clear?
100%. And the word that keeps humming in my mind is with intention, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
you're doing, and this is what I talk about all the time with, when I talk about bold leadership, it's the same thing, right? What decisions are you making that with intention are leading you where you want to go, regardless of whether or not you have seen anyone do it before? Like, you just know it's the right thing for you based on who you are and what you want and where you want to go. And so it's the same kind of idea, that intentional personal self leadership toward your future.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's awesome
You and me,
and
we got this.
super
I
super
love it.
powerful.
Yeah, it is.
And it provides the fuel and the energy for people to get where they're trying to go. I think a little of it is being a woman. I'm not trying to say that's the only piece of it, but I think to some degree that would be
We
really hard
tend
for
to
you,
be, right?
Michelle.
We
Yeah.
tend to be more tied into our intuition and our feelings about what that looks like. Where I could say my husband and I, we talk a lot about his work because I can't even imagine living in his little work life. It's insane to me. But the idea of getting to make decisions, and part of this is being an entrepreneur too, I think we get to make decisions that are, because we know what we want, we can decide how we want to attempt to get there. And a lot of times the guys are sticking with the this is what I'm supposed to do thing.
Yeah.
And I think we have started and are more likely to break away from this is
I'm
what I'm
going to take
supposed to.
off that coat. I'm going to take off the coat of
Yeah,
what I'm supposed to, and
should.
I decide to do something or should, and
Yeah.
I'm going to look at this differently. I remember when I was a kid, my parents took me on a trip to Washington, D.C., and the t-shirt that I chose that I wanted to wear from Washington, D.C. says, "Every woman has a place in the House and the Senate." That was what I thought was the right
How
thing to
old
wear.
were you? How old were you at that point?
I
Do you
was
remember?
probably 11 or 13.
Awesome. Yeah, the junior high,
Yeah.
middle
Yeah, I was
school,
that
they
junior
still,
high age. Yeah.
yeah, they still do Washington, D.C. at about eighth grade in the schools. So it's right around then. Yeah. It's when we started to recognize that we have thoughts of our own that we want to affect the world with. When we're 8 and we're in elementary school and we're still like just surviving the playground, and then you get into middle school when you start learning about things more. In elementary school you're learning science, but you don't really know it's science. You just like, oh, look what happens when you mix these colors. But that's science too. You get further along and we get to start to recognize our own strength and power of thought and intuition and belief in ourselves.
And there's just a huge amount of energy, of force behind creating an intention and then setting up the game plan to have the milestones to get there.
Yep.
And I don't mean to say that that's easy. It is not easy, but it is doable. It takes focus, it takes direction, it takes consistency, and it takes a lot of self-power.
Yep.
And that is one of the things that I like to bring to my collaborators, my clients, is how to build that self-power.
Yeah. And don't forget, it's self-power, and it's also a little bit of accountability, self-accountability and support, right? Because you're talking about this and now we go into coaching brain, where these are the things you need to have success. You need to know what you want. You need to make a plan to get there. And I teach it and you teach it and we all teach those kinds of things. But it just shows how it's not because that's just what we were taught to be a coach. That's because that's the way humans work. And going from an idea to a process to having that idea realized is something that everyone can relate to. And then when you have someone like yourself who can actually distill it into the facts that came before, like sometimes we just go through and we're there and we don't even know the steps that we took along the way, but you can help to like show them that these are all the things that they
Yeah.
did and they can do it
It is
again.
important. It is important. And whether I'm doing work with sort of a business person or a collaborator or a client, often a huge part of what I need to do is show people the evidence
Yeah,
that they
right.
have the experience to do what it is they're setting out to do.
Yep.
I taught a class last night, and my class that I teach a few times a
Your
year,
SOS was last night.
SOS was last night.
Awesome.
Stop overeating sugar. And that's an interesting class because I use the decision framework for the first half of the class, and then I use hypnosis for the second half of the class.
Yeah.
The hypnosis part of what I have people doing is remembering how they've done things before. They can do this.
Do it again. Yep.
And that is a powerful message, and especially powerful when people are relaxed and in a state of hypnosis.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I've attended that class and others of yours, and that's exactly what I get from it. That the power of hypnosis, in my experience from you, I may have had a hypnosis experience with one other person in the past before that, but several times with you, is such a profound sense of relaxation. It's like meditation times 20, and which is so wonderful. And yeah, but there's a consciousness to it. Even though you're reaching the subconscious, there's a consciousness to it that helps you recognize that, oh yeah, I have actually had this thought before, and I can have this thought and this experience and this success again. So meaningful. I love it.
I love what I do. By being an entrepreneur, by doing what I want to do, I get to do things in the combinations
Yeah.
that I think are going to be effective and help people.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute joy to get to do the kind of work I do.
It's beautiful. What do you see as, if you're willing to share, do you have little other potential bold decisions ruminating that you're thinking or like on the verge of?
I'm launching something new. I'm launching a marketing group coming up in a month or two. So that's my next boldish.
So what's that going to look like? Tell us a little bit about it.
I'm calling it the Magnetic Marketing Collective.
Oh, I like that. Magnetic.
Magnetic, Magnetic Marketing Collective. And it's going to be a group that I'm leading. We're going to meet 3 times a month. And I'm going to teach people a little bit about their digital marketing. I'm going to ask people some questions, and then we're going to have a little bit of accountability and working time to get marketing done. Because I've realized that as I meet many different small businesses and solopreneurs, a lot of people don't know the basics. And while I don't know all the details about everything, that would be impossible. I know a lot of the basics, and I can help people make some good decisions about where to put their initial energy and intention after.
Yeah.
And I also have realized that while I've met a few people who are maybe as well versed as me or better versed than me, at least in certain aspects of their marketing chain, they got no accountability. They ain't getting this stuff done. And so I think by leaning into the value that you bring to your community, I can create a little community that is going to focus on this particular aspect of things.
Yeah.
So community is a very, very powerful thing. And I think that what you've done with Gather is amazing.
Thank you so much.
And it is wonderful to see such a thriving, vibrant, rich. I mean, there's like something for Gather almost every day. It's pretty
We do
amazing.
a lot.
Crazy.
Yeah, thank you. It is a lot, and it's because I just keep coming up with more stuff to give people because I think that they're gonna find it useful. And what I was thinking when you said your magnetic marketing collective,
Collective. Yes.
Collective. I love collective. And I was thinking if you end up having like a social thing or an in-person thing, you can call it the magnetic marketing mixer because we love a good alliteration around here.
Absolutely. I'm very into that, but I chose the word collective because I want to convey I'm going to be the leader of this little group, but we're going to share back and forth because it's digital marketing was one thing when I started in 1997. It's a little more complicated now.
Yeah.
And by working together, a group can accomplish so much more from gather. Yeah.
And you know what I feel when I hear the word collective is really that everyone else is different from each other. It reminds me of those stores, like the antique stores that are really like everyone has a nook and they all bring their own stuff, right? To me, that's a very good definition of a collective. Like we collected these people and the kids from everywhere and brought them together to offer or whatever. So I see that for your collective as all different businesses, all different experiences. And that's what's good about it. Like you said, you can lead them, guide them to a topic or to having an accountability session or whatever, but each one of them is going to bring something different to the party and every single one has massive value.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sounds great.
That's my next move. That's the boldest thing I'm doing, I think, for 2025.
I love it. And we're recording this in May. When is that going to start? Like, when can we put this on our radar?
It will be available in June 2025.
Okay. So just not very long from where
not very long from now.
Timing. Okay. That's exciting. I can't wait to support you in getting the word out about that and all of the things that you do. I know you're a VIP here in our community. I know that you've been talking about the things that you've been doing, but for those people who haven't met you, I just want to say that I really, really enjoy how you show up and coming to your things, and we'll do whatever I can to continue to support you going forward.
Me too, Tracie. Let's go see more flowers and on more cruises.
Yes, more cruises, more fun, more everything. We love it. More bold decisions too.
More bold decisions and helping people make them. Yes.
Yes, and helping people make them. Okay. I love it. I think it's time for us to quiet ourselves down and finalize everything. Give us like a final, Michelle, message to listeners. Like they listened to this whole episode, they've come here to the end. What do you want them to know as they leave this episode?
That what I love to help people with is their mindset, their message, and their momentum. And whether that is something that feels personal or professional for your solopreneur or small business, I would love to be in touch, have a chat, and see if there's a way for us to work together.
Fantastic. Mindset, message, and momentum.
You got it.
Beautiful. Thank you again, Michelle, for being here. I'm so thrilled. Yay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Bold and Brilliant podcast. I'm your host, Tracie Root, and I want to invite you to check out the show notes, find out where you can connect with our guests, find out more about what I and the Gather community have to offer you, and be sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform. Thanks so much.